Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Supply Chain Talks. Today, we have our webinar on women in supply chain, leading from the front, women in supply chain. Uh, First of all, I would like to thank you all for joining in. A little bit update on the channel so far. First of all, Alhamdulillah, we have crossed the first milestone of 1,000 subscribers. So Supply Chain Talks, with all the support that I have received from all of you, we have now 1,000, to be exact, 1,022 subscribers to date. So I request all of you have joined who have not yet subscribed, kindly do subscribe. Click on the subscribe button and also the bell icon so that you can get notifications. So thank you again. I will now be asking my esteemed guest to join into the session. So let me bring them in. Hello, welcome all. So thank you all of you to join me in this session on leading from the front, women in supply chain. I'm joined here by Miss Amina Khalid from McDonald's Pakistan, Omneya Sarhan from Siemens Egypt, Chidan from Courts Turkey, Umang Khan, she is a supply chain consultant based out of UAE, Farah HSH from Siemens Energy UAE, and Shaheera Mahmoud from ADCO Group in Saudi Arabia. First, I would request Amina to start off with you to introduce yourself, and then Omi, and then onwards, please. Amina, over to you.
Thank you so much, Naman. Hi, everybody. This is Amina Khalid, and as Naman mentioned, I work for McDonald's Pakistan. I'm the National Manager for Quality Assurance and Regulatory Affairs, which pertain to the restaurants. I've been with the company for about 10 years in all, but also at the same time, there was a brief break in between. I was not residing in Pakistan. I was staying abroad, but proudly I've opened the first McDonald's in Pakistan, and that's how far my association with the company goes. Thank you, Naman.
Thank you, Amna. We have a comment from Hey Amna to you. So I'm sharing some comments as well, live comments for you guys. Fine.
Hello.
So Omneya, over to you. An introduction, please.
Yes, my name is Omneya Sarhan. I'm heading the supply chain management in Siemens Egypt. I've been with Siemens for 20 years now, doing procurement and logistics. I'm responsible for the indirect material part of the supply chain. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Omneya. Chidan, over to you, please. Introduction, please.
I'm
Your
Chidan.
mic is. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Chidan Senbay. I am working for Coach and in supply chain for 13 years. I had many roles in supply chain, starting from the demand management, customer service relationships, and planning. And now also I am running the global projects under the supply chain. So happy to be here.
Thank you. Umang, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. Very excited to be here with all of you today. It's my first as well. My name is Umang Khan. I have been living in Dubai for about 10 years. I'm married. I have 2 kids. I started my supply chain career with Procter & Gamble, worked there in almost all sub-functions for about 9 years. Then I decided to resign after my first baby. And during this time, I opened up my own restaurant, had a restaurant business for about 3 years. And then I was missing the corporate world and supply chain so much that I decided to move back and became a supply chain consultant. And now that's what I am. I'm a supply chain consultant. In the middle somewhere, I worked for Masafi as well. That's all about me. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Farah. Farah, before you
Hello.
start, we have a message from our friend Asad as well for both of us.
Okay. Hi, Asad. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Farah HSH. I have recently joined Siemens Energy UAE. So I recently moved to UAE, heading the supply chain for service business units for Middle East and North Africa. I've transitioned earlier. I was in Siemens Qatar, heading their procurement there as well. So I'm excited for the webinar today and looking forward to the many conversations we're having. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah. Shaheera, I request you to also introduce yourself.
Hi, and my name is Shaheera Mahmoud. I have 15 years experience in supply chain. Half of it is in freight forwarding business as a service provider, and the other half is as a customer in Siemens logistics director. So I have both experience as a customer, as a service provider in supply chain industry. And I'm happy to be here with you.
Thank you, Shaheera. Thank you, Shaheera. Before we move forward, I would just like to show one comment from one Mr. Mubashir Sumro. Your comment is well taken. I will look into it to have a rework on my logo. Thank you. Okay, coming to the main topic again. Before we start off with our discussion, I would like to share some statistics about women in the field of supply chain. This is from an article. I will share the link in the chat box soon. This is an article which was published in 2016 based on a poll conducted by SCM World. So I would just highlight some key features which were the takes from the study. The first one is that they did a survey of the global universities which were giving supply chain courses. So they found out that out of the students which are enrolled in supply chain courses, 37% of them are women. Then they also highlighted another fact, which was regarding the Fortune 500 companies, that only 5% of the top level supply chain positions are held by women in these Fortune 500. Then they also looked at the stepping stone roles in supply chain. Where does that stand when it comes to women? So that is also an interesting data. It basically highlighted that 56% of businesses have fewer than 1 in 5%. That is less than 20% women in supervisor positions. So again, if the percentage is low, so obviously very less would go on top as well then. But having said all of this, that the next point basically does become the cornerstone or the foundation of this webinar, which I would like to highlight that the role that women are playing and can further play in the supply chain domain. The fact is that the survey, as per the survey, 71% of the global supply chain professionals believe that women have a natural skill set when it comes to supply chain management. And out of these, 91% consider that these skill sets are advantageous to work for them to work within the supply chain management. That means it gives them a very key edge over men. So having said that, I would now move into our webinar. So my first question of the day is basically to all of you, and I would start with Chidan. The first question is that if you can take us through your career journey, that how did you start your career and how has the journey been so far? So over to you, Chidan.
Yeah. Actually, I'm an industrial engineer, so I have the educations of different fields like quality planning, manufacturing. But when I was in the university time, I was always saying that I will work either in quality or planning because it was coming to me more exciting. I had my first job in quality and tried that. But while trying that, planning was always started to be like a very complex, complicated thing. So maybe I should try the planning. So I started to look to the planning jobs. I tried quality and I said, now time to try the planning. And actually, in the planning, I worked in different fields like demand management, customer service side, warehousing, logistics parts, etc. Because of the changing the departments, I actually not find time to get bored. And as you know, supply chain is really a big sea. For example, I remember my first time when I was in customer service, a customer called me and started to yell at me, etc. And I said, "Oh yes, I mean, now it is something like hearing the voice of customer is something like this. So you understand the concerns of the customer, you understand the problem from their side, etc." I mean, I started to really get many information from the supply chain side. I tried to make my thesis on the supply chain side just to dig in the details. And also about the supply chain, there is one exciting part. It's always push you to learn something new. For example, consider this year pandemic period. We learned many things about the pandemic period, how to be more agile in supply chain, how to manage the crises, etc. So in supply chain, learning is never ending. So actually, it is keeping me in the supply chain and keeping me excited in supply chain.
Thank you, Chidan. Thank you for your excellent journey story. And so now I would request Farah, if you may please also share your journey in supply chain so far.
Okay, thank you, Noman. So actually, I started in supply chain by accident. Educationally, I have an interior architecture degree as well as an MBA. So I started my career in investment company in finance. And after a few years, I was a bit bored of it because it was a bit routine. So there was an opening for the graduate program in Siemens, Kuwait, where I'm from. So I applied there, and I still remember the CFO at the time told me, one thing I can promise you, you will not get bored. Every day is different. And till this day, I can say that this is completely 100% accurate. It's always different. There is no exact like cookie cutter situation that that happens, let's say, regularly. It's constantly changing. And yeah, so that was more than 8 years ago. And since then, I transitioned within the region. So starting off from Siemens Kuwait and then Siemens Qatar. And now I have gone to the other side to Siemens Energy for service. So yes, it's very exciting. And yeah, that's my journey so far.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Farah. Farah, I have known Farah from the day that she joined Siemens. I'm also an ex-colleague of her from Siemens Saudi Arabia. So we have worked closely together on various topics for over 4.5 years. So thank you, Farah. Umang, I request now you to please share your journey.
Hi, once again. My introduction to supply chain was actually accidental. All my life, I wanted to be a banker, following my dad's lead. And luckily for me, when I graduated, I already had a job in hand with ABN AMRO. So I started off, but within few weeks, I realized I'm in the wrong field, and this was panic mode for me. And during this time, luckily for me, I received a call from the HR manager of GlaxoSmithKline. They were looking for supply chain management trainees, and I decided to give it a try. I went for the interview, everything went well. And he told me then, if you would like to see the head of supply chain, before we move ahead, I said, why not? And I had a very long session where he explained me what supply chain is, and I found it very interesting. But there is one thing which stuck to me. He asked me, why do you want to leave ABN AMRO? You just joined the company. And I said, look, I do the same thing every single day, and honestly, I'm bored of that already. And he said, I have been in supply chain for 15 plus years, and never there have been a case which is the exact repetition of the previous one. And I was sold there. I said, okay, this is it. I'm joining. Next week, I joined GSK, worked there for about 3 years. I was a site planning manager looking for a 3 Augmentin and Panadol sites. Then I found an opportunity in Procter and Gamble. I started there, and Procter and Gamble is a company which they like to. If someone likes to take a challenge and they're fast paced, Procter and Gamble promotes that. So I had a very fast-paced career in supply chain. Worked in almost all sub-functions, from supply planning, demand planning, customer logistics, distribution, project management, everything, until I was moved to Dubai with Procter and Gamble, and I started there as a project manager, and then moved to new product introductions. From there, I was already married by then, had my baby, so I decided to resign and have some time to myself. But I was so bored at home that I decided to open a restaurant. And trust me, a lot of people who work in multinational FMCG, this is a sort of a dream to open up their own cafe, restaurant, sort of a business one day. So I went ahead and actually did that, and I learned a lot of things along the way. But after a couple of years, I started getting, I started missing the vibe of the corporate world and the supply chain function. So I decided to go back, joined a consultancy. I decided to go back to consultancy because I wanted to work for a local company rather than a multinational. And from there on, another 2, 3, 4 years in consultancy. And that's it. So far, I will say there is no other function I'd rather be. It's a perfect fit for me. I love how dynamic this function is. I love the depth in supply chain, and like I said, joining a consultancy was my personal choice because I really wanted to assist and reapply what I have learned from a multinational environment to the local scenarios. That's one.
Thank you, Umang. I can relate to you, believe me, that I have been through a similar phase, and I also opened up a restaurant in Jeddah, and Shaheera had the fortunate luck of coming to my restaurant
really?
as well. So, yes. So, and then I also stepped into consultancy. So we both have a kind of a similar journey as well. So thank you, Umang. So now I move the candle to Shaheera. So Shaheera, over to you.
I am actually similar to Farah. I joined supply chain accidentally, or I can say it was not planned at all. Because first year after I graduated, I worked in 3 to 4 different industry, hospitals, media, and shipping line. Once I entered the shipping line, I have been exposing different factors and criteria. Shipping line is linked with freight forwarding, customers. So I decided to continue the career in supply chain. And eventually I started it with the freight forwarding business. I started in Excel, DHL Global Forwarding. And then I jumped to Schenker. And I can say that Schenker was the first milestone in my supply chain career. I learned there a lot of things about shipping, freight, sea freight, air freight, imports, exports, and I was the key account manager for Siemens account during this time. And eventually, after I became very shining, Siemens got me from Schenker, and I moved from Schenker to Siemens as a director of logistics for the kingdom. And after less than a year, I moved as a head of logistics for Middle East for almost 2 years. And then I handed over to one of my colleagues, and I become back again as a director for logistics for Saudi Arabia. It was very excited to me, and the thing which I like most about the supply chain in general, there is no routine. Every day is a new day, which really suits my character. I don't like routine at all. Until now, till today, whenever I have newcomers, new employees, either male or female, I said, if you don't like routine, this is the best place to work for. And from Siemens, I went back again to freight forwarding business, Nagel, and for 2 years. And now I am in ATCO Group. It's one company in ATCO Group called East and West. It's also freight business, customs clearance, and warehousing and removals. So it's the same industry. But there is one thing which is new for me at the moment is the removal business. So I am excited to know more about it because I'm less than 1 month with them. And it's really interesting business for me. And I'm happy to be here to hear the stories from other ladies. And most probably most of us started accidentally in this field. That's it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shaheera. Thank you for your input. I will now move to our colleague from Egypt, Omneya. Over to you.
Yes, I started my career in supply chain 20 years back, and it started with Siemens because before I worked for in a different field, and I didn't like it a lot. It was like a 9-to-5 job. I was an executive secretary in a petroleum services company. I dropped out afterwards for 4 years to take care of my sons at that time. And I was starting after the 4 years to look for a job. I was very fortunate to find a job at Siemens. It was a junior buyer at the communication division. So I joined already with 2 kids and in a totally new career for me. I didn't know anything about procurement at that time. So everything I knew was coming from Siemens at that time. The communication division was a booming business. So, when you were like 4 years doing nothing and fine, and then you pursue your career in a very, very dynamic division, there was not 1 week that passes without a tender submission or a project that you need to work on. I didn't even have time for the normal training that people can do. All the training I had to do it on the job, and this was really stressful at the beginning. But I had a very nice people surrounding me, a good boss that coached me a lot and helped me a lot. So they gave me a lot of information, a lot of coaching, and it made me where I am today. I worked with 6 senior sales at that time. Very enthusiastic. They were all not married, so they put on like 2 days. They can stay at work without sleeping for 2 days, and this gave me a lot of the speed. You have to be very speedy to get them what they need to support them when they have a tender submission or something like that. So and they brought me in. They taught me how to negotiate in the first step. So it was really challenging at the beginning until I understand what was procurement, and then afterwards I moved to central procurement function where I did indirect material. Also, this was new to me, so I changed from a division work to more of a corporate purchasing world. I stayed there in 2010. That was the shift, and I was responsible for the supply chain at that time. I also got a lot to know about logistics, and mainly from Shaheera, by the way. I used to call her a lot to take some tips because also this was a green field for me. I didn't know a lot of information, and she helped a lot. So Thank you, Shahira. I didn't say that before, but I really owe a lot of the logistics experience from you. You helped a lot, and not only to me, but also my team. We used to call her day and night for tips and advice. And I've been with the Siemens now for 20 years.
Thank you, Omnia, for your input. So now I will move to Amna from Pakistan. So Amna, over to you. We want to hear your journey as well.
Thank you. Not much different. One accident after the other. I am basically a marketing graduate in business. So after that, I was working for a cellular phone company in Pakistan. And shortly after I joined, we saw this advertisement in newspapers that McDonald's was coming to Pakistan and they were looking for trainee managers. So basically, I joined McDonald's as a trainee manager. I was with them for about a year. Soon after, there was a requirement in the company to, because the company was fairly small, starting with only two restaurants at that time. And then we required the company required a quality assurance person in the head office. So based on whatever my seniors, my management saw, the skill set that I had at that time and my focus on quality, they shifted me from the operations role to the quality assurance team. Maybe less than 6 months later, there was another requirement because the supply chain manager at that time was moving out. And so one thing that really brought me, I would say, into supply chain was the fact that I was taking interest in supply chain. I was taking ownership of the whole process, and that is quality assurance, basically end to end. You have to assure that everything is is assured that way. So I was given this option if I was ready to take up the role. And at that time, it was very challenging, but my management, they assured me of all the support, all the training, and that's how I embarked on my journey into supply chain. So I was then looking after supply chain and quality both for Pakistan. And steadily we kept growing. I was in that role for about 6 years, until I moved out of Pakistan for and then but before actually leaving, I worked with Macro at that time, which is now Metro Cash and Carry, and I was again a senior buyer for them. Again, country opening. So very exciting times. Got to learn from different perspectives, from a restaurant, quick service food industry. I quickly changed roles and I was looking at supply chain from a retail and wholesale point of view. So totally different ball game, very exciting. And I think by that time, within the first, like what everybody's been saying, it's a new day. So no matter how prepared are you in supply chain roles, you're never prepared enough. So every day is a new day. Your schedule changes, the demand of the day changes, and things change, and that keeps you on your toes. And I think if you're that kind of a person, this is the perfect role for you. So yes, I think someone who's thirsty enough to know more, who's ready for challenges, and who's aware of what's happening afloat in the market all the time. I think supply chain is for people like us. Very interesting. And from that point on, I was not in Pakistan for about 10 years, but I was working in contractual roles. I had a young family, so I was raising my children, looking after my family in Canada, and then I was in Dubai for about 5 years. I was raising my boys; they were very young at that time, but I was still doing something or the other to keep myself connected with the industry, although not formally, but informally. And I think that's very important for all the aspiring ladies and even if they're um, men watching or listening to this webinar, I would always say that just go with the flow. Uh, Things will come, and but if you're really dedicated and you're really passionate about a certain area, don't miss any opportunity. If you're dedicated, um, you know you will find opportunities. you will upgrade yourself, you will update yourself, and you would never be out of the industry, so to say, which people usually fear. And I think we'll talk about it later as well, what challenges at another point maybe. But yes, so that's how the journey started, evolved, and then I was not in Pakistan for about 10 years. I came back, I checked with my colleagues, ex-colleagues, and I found out that they were still again looking for somebody on a quality assurance in the quality assurance department. So I was very happy. It was my first proper formal rejoining in the industry. So very excited. Again, lots of learnings. Every day is a new day. We work very closely with supply chain in the food industry, especially, and in McDonald's system, as some of you are probably aware. So yes, exciting times.
Thank you, Amina, for your journey as well. And I think all the 6 journey that you have shared with us, all 6 of you, they are truly aspiring. And I think that would inspire a lot of people who have joined us in the webinar or who later on will listen to you, inshallah. So you are the role models. And amongst the 6 of you, what I can see is that, collectively, you have more than 100 years of experience amongst you. So all 6 of you. So we would be learning a lot from your total combined experience. So coming on to the next discussion point of our webinar is that, as I also shared earlier as well, that supply chain is predominantly a very male centric or male empowered or male dominant field. So in that case, what challenge, if you can share, Farah, over to you, that a challenge that you have faced as a woman in this field over this career of yours in supply chain?
So for me, and jumping straight into the job, so you don't realize early on, and as you grow and you develop in your career, the different challenges that you're going to be faced with. One of the main challenges I had to go through, and still going through sometimes, is at the time when I joined Siemens Kuwait and then transitioned to lead the procurement in Siemens Kuwait. So I was particularly young and compared to the others in the organization, as well as being a female. So, of course, you have many discussions with, let's say, project managers or people who have been within the organization for 20, 30, 40 years plus. And when you try to get a point across, or you have a certain opinion, sometimes not given so much weight considering age as well as being a female. So that was a major challenge I had to go through. And then with time, you try to adapt and overcome that challenge. And I think one of the mistakes earlier on that I jumped into, where I tried to overcompensate the age and being a female with having to be additionally aggressive or assertive in my opinions, which I think now I have calmed down a little bit. But yeah, it is frustrating, and it was a major challenge to kind of get people to respect your views, respect the input and the effort that you're putting behind the work, especially men in the industry, because it's not so common, and also in the region. So for me, this was a major challenge, and thankfully I had amazing colleagues like Omneya and Shaheera to look up to also, who have, I'm sure, been through this. So, and their support in the organization as I started was great. So yeah, this is a challenge for me. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So I would now, Umang, if you can also share a challenge that you have faced.
Okay. Look, in the corporate sector, you come across several pockets of people who have a tunnel vision when it comes to females. Okay, females working in the corporate sector, and supply chain is very densely populated with men. So today, when I look back, I realize that women are being constantly judged when it comes to their career path, and I think that's the biggest challenge I face, being judged at all times. For example, regular life events like marriage, your engagement, conception of a child, automatically people start doubting your productivity, your performance, your continuity in the organization. And surely, because we come from big multinational backgrounds, they will come and they will talk to you about these things. But even when you reassure them, you will still be under the scrutiny that as far as your performance and productivity comes. And for me, that because of that fact, I had to always do I had to try twice as much to ensure that no fingers are being pointed at me. I think that's a huge challenge, because already as women, we are struggling with work and then personal life. End of the day, we are responsible for the life at home as well. And on top of that, you have to try double hard because, a regular life event is happening. And I will give you, a very funny example. I always think about that. All of us have been to office on days where you enter the office and your meeting starts, and only in the evening you leave that meeting room because it's a day long meeting. And during these meeting, it's very common for men to get up all of a sudden in the middle of meeting, and more than a few times in a meeting, and say, okay, time for a smoke break. And then they go for 10-15 minutes, and it's considered very normal, it's a norm. But as a female, even I cannot even get up in the middle of the meeting a couple of times and say, okay guys, break, because I need to speak and check on my kids back home. Glances will be exchanged. Nobody is going to say anything to me, but glances will be exchanged, and that says something about their judgmental behavior. But at the same time, my advice to everyone is that these are the things we should not be frustrated about, because it's not like the men that we work with in the corporate sector are mean. It's just that they don't know any better. Their reactions, they haven't, these are not the norms of a male dominated field. uh, Getting up in the middle of a meeting, checking on your kids, conception of a child, so they are not used to this. It is our responsibility as a female to introduce them to these concepts, because let's be honest, HR and marketing are already female diversified. Supply chain has not reaped the benefits of female diversity yet, so their reactions are as surprised, and they don't know how to react. So for me, first of all, we should not be embarrassed about getting up and saying things which are more female centered than men. Secondly, I would go ahead and say that we should not be shy, and should not be shy and discuss it later also with our work colleagues, so that they understand our viewpoint, and for future reactions, they are more appropriate. So that's, for me, has always been a huge challenge. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Umang. I agree with you that yes, it is an important thing that men need to be sensitive, and they need to understand that the needs and requirements of females as well, and these are normal. It should not be considered as you mentioned, as a taboo topic, and things need to change. And I hope that the participant listening in and in future as well, they do understand that let's all change towards change our attitudes towards women, especially in the workplace and also in our own personal lives as well. So thank you, Umang, for your input. Shaheera, the same question for you as well, the challenge.
Actually, I share bits and pieces from previous challenges, but I have, I believe, one more uncommon challenges, which is mainly a woman can face in Saudi Arabia but cannot face in other countries. During my time in Schenker, I used to handle a few key accounts, and I used to have either a monthly meeting or a weekly meeting. Most of the meeting was done online or through a phone, but I encountered a couple of meetings when I was planning to go and I received a rejection that they don't allow women to attend meetings in their premises. It was frustrated for me, very frustrating. That I don't want to be rejected, and in the same time I want to attend the meeting to make sure that the work is going smoothly without any drop. So I agreed with them. Okay, no problem. I will not come, but I will join through a phone call. And I sent one of my colleagues there to attend the meeting, and I attended through a call. Also, similar to this challenge is for customs. Before 10 years ago, it was not allowed for women to enter the customs building because we are women, and it's a male industry. So why should I go there? It was challenging for me, and I was also trying to work out through calls and sending colleagues or agents to solve the issue. But I can say that situation is totally different now. Women are allowed to enter any premises to discuss work and discuss problems and raise suggestions and recommendations. And for customers and companies, I don't think it's a topic which is still going on, not to allow women to enter any meetings. So this was challenges for me during my time in Schenker.
Thank you, Shaheera. I agree with you. And it's a fortunate thing that we are living in this time that while living in Saudi Arabia, we have seen and we have experienced a lot of positive changes in the kingdom. And a lot has happened over the last couple of years, and a lot of more good things are expected, inshallah. And I have seen the changes under the 2030 vision, how things have progressed and things have improved. Even when it comes to females in the workplace, that the percentage diversity has also improved. So hopefully
Yes.
these challenges would, challenges are always there, and hopefully with the support of people and institutions, these challenges will be overcome. Now, the same thing, Omnia, I request you, if you may, please share a challenge.
Okay. As I said, the challenge came at the beginning of starting my career in supply chain, and the main issue was how to balance the work-life balance. To make it work in the actual life. So I was starting a new career that is something which is not my field, a new field, and at the same time I had to take care of my sons. At that time, it was Muhammad was 4 and Ahmed was 2. So I had to learn the hard way. At the beginning, I was very slow. I didn't know how to organize myself, and I had a lot of challenges, and I had a lot to learn as well. On both areas, you have to learn how to be a mother, and on the same time, you have to learn how to do your job and make something of yourself. It took a lot of time, and believe me, even the minutes, the 5 minutes counts in planning how to make myself very much organized and try to work on priorities and stuff like that. And in the same time, how to be on speed with the new job, because they will not wait for you to get on board. You need to make it work and invest a lot of time and effort to learn and make yourself useful. Also, I did not want to just be a normal person in a normal job. I wanted to have a career and to really make something of myself. So this was something that I needed to invest a lot of time in myself and to learn. and I used to learn by watching a lot the people around me when I started. I always looked up at women in the work field because I remember when I joined the communication division, there was a lady. She was responsible for the technical sales at that time. She was elder than I am, like 4 years difference in age, and she also had a family. I used to remember, I used to watch her, how she spends a lot of time in the business, and sometimes I saw her like two nights in a row. She spends the night at the office because there's a tender submission the next day. I used to stay a lot and talk to her. I took a lot of tips from her, how to get organized, how to make my day more productive, how to work on my personal life as well. And this is something that helped me a lot. Just watching her and having those tips helped me to compensate that. It took a lot of years until I gained this balance and a lot of hard work, but thank God I'm on track.
Thank you. Thank you, Omnia. Surely. Amina, if you can also share your challenge that you have faced.
Yes, Noman. As everybody else, I think predominantly supply chain in this part of the world is very much male dominated, and being females, we have come across many challenges. For example, if you uh, take my example, like I said, I was working in operations. So operations is the restaurants team who are basically running the show 24/7. So when I was in operations, and this was 22 years ago, this it was again a taboo for a woman, for a girl at that time, to be working late hours. So if I was to be doing the closing shift, my shift would start at 8 at night, until maybe 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, because the company had made arrangements to drop all females on their responsibility. But then that was a support that we got from the management, from the company, that they provided transport, safe transport for all the females. So yes, it was challenging. And then moving on to my supply chain and quality assurance roles, and because I was from a quick service restaurant industry, my role was to maybe do spot checks. My role was to go and visit the suppliers, and audit them, and see how things are on floor actually happening. So me- and these people would be the people working maybe in the suppliers head offices or online in the production halls. They were males, and males do not really see women as somebody who would come and ask them what they're doing and how they are doing. And if I was to tell them or counsel them that, uh, we will appreciate if you can do it another way, or maybe be more vigilant at that time on the line, they would look at my face and they were like, a woman is telling us to do stuff like that. But then again, we sat down with the suppliers, their management teams, and again, thanks to the men in those roles, that they supported us. So for example, what would happen is that the QC manager, or the supply chain lead from that company, from that supplier, would accompany us, and we would collectively then, in one voice, on the same page, we would give the corrective feedback to the employees there. Because when McDonald's came in Pakistan and we were developing suppliers, uh, the work being done at that time was on a on an entirely different level. We were still developing in that part. So for example, if there's a bakery, or if there's a protein supplier, you know the expectations from a company that is globally recognized for its food safety systems, for them to be understand at a developing market level at that time, was very difficult, was very challenging. But then collectively, with persistence, we accomplished all of that. So Yes, I think it's been an amazing experience altogether. But I must say that when we are talking about women who have come across such a long career path, we must continue to appreciate the men who have been there to support us in our roles progressively and continuously, and with all transparency and all honesty. So I think at this point we must be grateful to those men as well, and we need more of them.
Thank you, Amna. Before I move to Chidan, I will take one small comment from one of our participants. I would like to respond to that here because it pertains to this question. Thank you for this comment. Uh, these are, I would like to support the answers or the responses. These are not just life stories, these are the actual challenges that females and women, ladies, fresh grads, girls who step into the field, not just supply chain, but also in any aspect, they do feel or they do experiences these very challenges, and we need to understand that these are real challenges, and we need to open our eyes, and we also need to appreciate that these the hardships that they face, women. So these are genuine challenges, and I hope that you can understand and that you do appreciate and you learn from these as well. So I thank you for your comment. Chidan, I would request you if you can also highlight the challenges that you have faced.
Okay, I will explain in two steps. The first step was before the baby. I will explain from my previous company. I was when I was working as quality assurance. I was single. I was 24 years old. I was dynamic, etc. But I'm 99% of the factory was men, and the age average was really high. So consider yourself as a 24 years old new graduated lady inside of many age men, and when you are saying something, there are two unconscious bias. One, age, and the second is the gender. So this was always the case I was facing with. And for example, I remember that when I make the electrical test of the refrigerators, my boss was sending a man engineer and to do the test again, and he did it for a while. I mean, till we measured the same things, etc. He did it for a while. It was very frustrating. Then I was taking it personal first, but then I understand that they are doing because of the unconscious bias they have about my gender, about my age, etc. After a time of period, of course, they start to trust you, etc. It goes off, but it is really frustrating for the ladies, let's say. And the second part of my life is actually after this maternity leave. In supply chain, before the maternity leave, actually I was known as a person who is ready for work 7/24, so always available, even during the night, even early in the morning, etc. So of course, after the baby, I started to have two roles. One is as mom, and the other one is working woman. So I was trying to learn how to balance in between these two, because it is really bad, because when you work late hours, you are feeling very bad about the baby. When you cannot finish something on time, you are starting to feel bad about the work, and you are trying to compare yourself with your past performance. And also in the male dominant sectors or the companies, also really frustrating point is becoming the outer noises, other than they start to support you, etc. Something, some comments like, you are not the old Chidan, the old Chidan would be reachable anytime, etc. This kind of comments are is starting to make you down. That time I really struggled till I learned the balancing the things. But fortunately, I was lucky that I had some coaching support from my company, and that time I started to learn how to be how not to be harsh to yourself. And I said that, I mean, if there would be a colleague or if there will be an employee in your team, how you do how you would behave to her in this case, then you should also behave to yourself similarly, and not to be too harsh in this period, and understand that it is a very unique period in your life. So this this was the change for me, and I started to be that, it is quite normal to be in this period, and I'm doing my best in order to do my job as previously, etc. But also I got a very good lesson for me as a leader, how to behave to these kind of cases. I mean, the ladies that have the babies, ladies back from the maternity leave, and also even for the males that have babies. We know these sleepless nights, we know the sickness periods, etc. So it is a good lesson that improved my empathy on people. Um, so this is the most challenging one, I think.
Thank you, Chidan. I will again take one small comment here from Tagri. She says that I notice all of you mentioned that there is no routine in supply chain, which unfortunately I suffer from this routine. I think this point was first mentioned by Shaheera, that there's no routine. The concept of that is that in supply chain, every day is a challenge. Every day there's a new topic. So it's you wake up and there's a new topic that you have to handle and tackle. So not a single day is a boring day in supply chain. So if you're looking for adventure, if you're looking for some high adrenaline rush, so supply chain is the field to be in. So believe me, you never get bored in supply chain. So thank you for your comment. We move forward to our next question. And this I will start off with Omar. That is, in your opinion, what traits or skill sets are key for women who want to succeed in supply chain? I think this would be a very pertinent and interesting question for the participants to hear. So, Umang, over to you.
Okay, look, first thing first, there is no glitter in supply chain. Okay, it's not a shiny field. You won't have larger than life experiences here. Okay, so with that in mind, I will tell you this is a strictly roll up your sleeves and get down to work sort of field. If you have that aptitude, that and if you want to join supply chain, or if you want to go higher up, you should be able to take a challenge, and you should be able to take a challenge at the most uncomfortable times, let me put it that way. Okay, and if you are not hesitant about taking a challenge, and if you're not hesitant about rolling up your sleeves and getting your hands dirty, then this is one of the key skills that is required. Second, for me, what is most important here is network, network, network. More than any other function, supply chain requires a lot more relationship building and conflict resolution. And to be honest, I mean, for the females, this one, the more people you know personally, the less likely they will judge you and have political agendas against you. So networking in this particular function is gonna make you a big success. Thirdly, in supply chain, you have to learn collaborative problem solving. Okay, there is a crisis every day, there is a challenge every day, everything was required yesterday, so everything is urgent, huh? And on top of that, most of the factors that you're dealing with are not in your control. So your best resort is to collaborate with people in order to come up with better solutions, and hence the networking part as well. You need to collaborate within your team, with the multifunctional teams, with your partners upstream, downstream. This is the only thing, the collaborative problem solving, that is going to get you through the day. So for me, three things, like I said: roll up your sleeves and take the challenge, network, and then collaborative problem solving. That's all. That's all.
Sorry. Thank you. My mic was mute.
Mm.
Thank you, Umang, for your input. I would request Amna to add on to this, please.
Mhm. So yes, I think I completely agree what Omang has just said. Supply chain is not for the weak-hearted. Make up your mind, and you enter into, if you want to enter into supply chain, uh, make sure that that you leave all the mental barriers behind you. So if you're you know you have to be practical in your approach. Number one, you have to be you have to be active. There's no day, night, or evening in supply chain. So if you're a female and you think that after 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock nobody's going to call me with a problem, then this is not your stage. So that's very important. Even 2 in the morning, somebody is going to call you and ask you for something or the other, and you have to be ready to do that. So like we have been saying, that there's no schedule. Every day is a new day. But then because in supply chain rules, mostly we're working with our suppliers and other stakeholders in different time zones. So you have to be prepared, and you have to be actively involved in those activities. So make sure that you're that kind of a person. Other than that, I think for particularly for a woman, uh, and I'm going to say it very openly, we need to have boundaries. It's not like men with men, because you are out in a sea of people, and there's everybody watching you, kind of stalking you. And that's, at least in our part of the world, that's the culture. So you have to maintain your boundaries. You have to focus on what the kind of words that you use, the kind of friendships that you have within the workplace. You have to be very, very mindful of what you're doing. How you dress up, for example, is very, very important. So yeah, so you have to be modest, in all that you do, and your focus should be your work. And that's very important for the new entrants, especially females, because being a female at that age, when you're young, you're in your early 20s, you're aspiring at that age, so much more that being a female you would want to do. So all that you want to do as a female. But when you're in the workplace, please make sure that you are more ladylike than a girl. So I think that's the key to progress in supply chain for a lady, for a woman, for a girl, whatever.
Thank you, Amna, for your input. And I do agree. Yes, there have to be boundaries, and not just boundaries. There has to be a very strong element of respect and space when it comes to having females in your workplace, having females to interact, not just in your workplace, across the table as well. When you're
Yes.
dealing with suppliers or your customers as well, if across the table there's a female, you need to be respectful, and you need to have that element of space there. So agree with you on this point. Chidan, I
Yes,
would
because you will come
request you,
across all sorts
please.
of people, not within your organization, but from other organizations as well. So, and there's strangers when you're meeting for the first time. Even if you've met those people for a few times, they're still strangers, and you need to create your boundaries that way to make sure that you go a longer way. Because this is a very tricky situation that they can put you in. being a female. So keep that always in mind, that it is still a predominantly male-oriented, male-driven society.
So true. Thank you, Amna. I would now pass on the torch to Chidan if she can also give her input on the skills or actions that are key for women.
When we say supply chain, actually, we are talking about many concepts. There was a comment about the routine, etc. Actually, whatever you are doing, for example, you may be doing demand planning. Demand planning inside can be a routine and it can be sounding boring. But actually, I think in order to understand the all supply chain concept, you need to consider your customer and you need to consider all the previous process as your customer, so that you learn many things from your customer. So it means that if you are doing, for example, just a demand planning role, how you can do it better, how you can improve it, how you can add a value onto the table, and for example, any ideas that to make it differently. So this kind of routines starts to become exciting when you see the gaps in the system and when you try to fix it. For example, and also when you see the effects on the business performance, etc., it starts to be much more enjoyable to be in the supply chain. Actually, so one thing what I want to summarize in this, if you are in the supply chain, try to get the holistic view of the supply chain. So it doesn't mean that whatever you are doing is enough. If even you are doing demand planning, just understand the customers. If you are doing manufacturing, understand the warehousing side, etc. So get idea about the holistic view and holistic view of the supply chain. Supply chain is not a one-person show, as my colleague said. It is a teamwork, collaborative work. So how much you understand about the full view, then you will be that much successful in this field, actually. And also, the second thing is the financial knowledge. Whatever you are doing, you should be understanding the financial impact of it. So if you take a daily action, how it will be affecting the financial output at the end of the month, at the end of the year, etc. You should be aware of this kind of things, and you should link the performance indicator with financial indicators as well. Because most of the people are missing in the financial side in the supply chain, so it can be a good skill to build. And also, for women, we know that they have some glass barriers, virtual barriers in their minds. So even they are 90% appropriate for a role, they are not applying a job because that they are not 100% appropriate. So what is the handicap with this? Actually, supply chain is a field. When you dive, you start to learn. So it's a point that you will learn much more from the hands-on experience. So you need to start, experience, and learn it. So you should be brave, and also in order to improve yourself as a kind of cross-functional things, etc., I think you should be volunteer to change your expertise from one side of supply chain to the other side. For example, if you experience customer service, then you can experience the planning as well. So it will improve all your holistic view in supply chain. Of course, these are depends on the companies, etc. But you should show that you are volunteer to challenge yourself with the new knowledge, new fields, etc. So you learn much better, and you become more experienced and shiny, let's say, in the supply chain side.
Thank you, Chidan. Thank you for your input. I would, Farah, if you can also share your opinion on this.
Yeah, so I agree with my colleagues here on all that they have mentioned in terms of skills and traits. To add also further, I think you should be very dynamic and forward thinking. So let's say from my limited time in the field, the day-to-day business operations were not the same as it was 8 years ago. And if you don't constantly adapt and grow and ride the wave, as they say, for the changing markets, then you're not gonna really succeed. So even in terms of the basic negotiation aspects, so we're going more digital now. Different types of, so it's not always on just getting the best price short term and that's it. So cultivating relationships, developing suppliers. So you need to be dynamic and constantly learning, changing with the times in order to let's say succeed further in the field. So that would be one main thing for me. Another thing is, and I had this slightly before as well. So in the region and also being a woman in the region, in the beginning, it was, let's say, I don't know, frowned upon or a bit embarrassing to kind of ask for a price reduction or a change because it was a bit awkward. And one thing I would recommend to all the ladies participating in the webinar is, and as Chidan said, like to be brave. You at the end, it's for the best interest of the company. And if you don't express your views and what you want as a target to the person sitting across the table from you, then most likely you're not gonna get it. So being brave in that aspect, being organized in your ideas and strategic thinking will only support you to get the goal that you want. So for me, these would be some main skills and traits to have, and if you're interested in working in SEM. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah, for your input. You're right that irrespective of your gender, male or female, you have to do not need to shy away in demanding what you need from your suppliers or from your partners within the supply chain. You need to be straightforward, blunt with them, and to the point. At the end of the day, you are working in the interest of the company, and the interest of the company comes first. And you need to be committed to that. So thank you, Farah. I would move on to our next discussion point. That this is a point that is very interesting to me. It's very important for me. If we look at the esteemed guests that we have today from all these different countries, it's not just that the different countries, but also different roles within the supply chain that they are executing right now. We have Amina from quality assurance. We have Omneya heading the whole supply chain. Farah heading the regional procurement and supply chain. Shaheera, logistics and warehousing. Chidan, planning and logistics in Turkey. And Umang being within the SNOP process and planning, and also as a consultant within UAE right now. So my point is that, over the years, over different things, that when hiring is happening, and what I have also experienced, that there's always been a notion that women are only suited for certain aspects of supply chain and not all of them, that maybe they cannot work well in warehousing or handling of freight forwarders or logistics or these things. They might be more suited in desk jobs or behind the scenes support function. So as I mentioned, your roles, your presence itself debunks this notion. But I would also appreciate and like that you also help the participants of the webinar understand that women are here and to stay, and they can be positive. They can provide a positive output in all aspects of supply chain. So this question I put to Shaheera to start off with. Shaheera, if you may you have a very strong logistics and warehousing experience.
It's not the same question which you are putting here, right? Traits and skills or actions? Nauman?
Yeah, this is better. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, it's the notion, yeah. Yes, for this question, the presence of women in supply chain, there are some notions that they cannot fit in some roles and notions that they can fit in other roles. I can see that women can fit in any role, especially in freight forwarding business, because all the roles in freight forwarding, either in air freight, sea freight department, warehousing, it requires a commitment from the person who is dealing with customers. And from my experience, I see that commitment are more coming from female. I don't want to make males angry, but from my experience in freight forwarding, females are more committed to their roles and their responsibility. I can see that there are few roles which cannot fit really for women, like stevedoring in ports, loading, offloading, crane mobilization. It's more to male business because it requires some physical strength to be handling this business. But from all other perspective, in freight forwarding, in supply chain, in logistics, women can fit in any other role which require structuring, organizing, data analysis, reporting. All these roles are really good for male as female, and there is no discrimination in this role. Despite that, as I said, women are more committed in handling these roles in supply chain. For example, in Schenker, I used to handle a department of 4 to 5 ladies. And in Siemens, I handled the department of 8 to 12 male. There was a difference in capabilities. I cannot say that male are more capable or females are more capable, but in general, there are some skills ladies are more strong in it, especially from organization, structuring, having a routine which is really workable for them on a daily basis for reporting or for structuring RFQ or tender. Male are good, but they are not so much structured like female. So as I said, supply chain can fit for female and male, except for this stevedoring business, loading, offloading, mobilization of cranes and forklifts. But otherwise, it can be very good for everyone to work with. This is from my perspective.
Thank you, Shaheera, for your input. Thank you. Chidan, if you would like to add on to your perspective on this.
Yeah, I also don't see any, link between the gender identity. Why? Because actually this is completely about the meritocracy. I mean, if, for example, we are not talking that women are the best, women are this, deserving better, etc. But meritocracy is the thing that, whoever is better in the job actually should get the job. Either it's a female or male. So actually, if the background is same, is the experience is same, there is no position that we can say that male is fitting here better or female is fitting here better. I think it is It is about your energy. It's about your commitment. It's about your flexibility, but not about the gender at all. For example, I can say that for the warehousing side, etc., if you add a couple of women into the warehouse, you can be 100% about the 5S, all the cleanness, all the tightness, all the good looking of the warehouse, and you cannot believe how it was 1 week ago after the three or two ladies started to work on the warehousing side. Or, for example, about procurement, price negotiations, supplier relations, etc. Sometimes it can be difficult to manage it on balance on one-on-one discussions, but one-on-one man discussions, but woman makes it much more with empathic way, easy way, etc., and it starts to become easier for the woman. So it depends really according to the person, not the gender itself. I totally agree.
So true. I agree with you as well, Chidan. Moving forward, Umang, your point of view on this, please.
Look, I agree with Chidan on this. It's not about the gender. It's the approach you take in performing the job. Okay, this is it. And honestly, these are different times. Look, companies are working with artificial intelligence to come up with the next breakthrough, and we are still wondering if a particular gender is well suited for a certain field or not. These are different times. I don't think it's about the gender at all. And to add to that, I mean, if you look at a female aptitude, to be honest, skills like organization, communication, networking, conflict resolution, relationship building, planning, these are because women are more emotionally intelligent. And actually, I was very happy when you shared some of the research in the beginning, because it goes very well with my argument that these skills come very naturally to women. Women have a natural aptitude towards the skills required for supply chain. Now, how the reality is exactly the opposite is something else. But for me, they are way more well suited as far as their aptitude is concerned. Having said that, I stand by my comment that this is all about the approach you take in a
Thank
certain
you,
field.
Umang.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
And thank you for appreciating the stats that I shared.
Mhm.
Much appreciated. But moving forward, I think it was a very wholesome discussion on this. Thank you all. Moving forward with our next discussion point, that it's to do with more of a cultural and demographic background. But the question is that all of you, like from Pakistan up to Egypt and Turkey, all of us have a similar cultural and demographic background. Looking at that, how important is a good support system when it comes to improving your efficiency and effectiveness in the workplace? When I talk about support system, it can be both professional and also from your peers or your family. That kind of a support system. So I would request Omnia if you can take this question on.
Yes, support system is very, very important. If you have the skills and you are not given the chance to use it and to get the chance to be promoted, you will not do anything with it. So a support system is very important. To have someone in your organization who believes in giving a fair chance to support you to go and do the extra mile. If you're doing a certain steps towards enhancing your skills and in your career path, they support you. it will make a hell of a difference. But again, I see the more that there's a problem in women themselves. They don't want to see themselves as taking a challenge and accepting the stress and stand up and pursue the career. Look at universities, as you said, and you show that already. Not a lot of women are taking supply chain for serious and are interested to study it. So yes, support system is fine, but we have to do something about it. Women needs to step up. Forget that there is no job without the stress. There is no non-demanding job. And I don't see that only male can reach a good position or a managerial position. Women has it, and all they need to do is trust in themselves and their capabilities, and really aim for the stars. Stars the limit.
Uh, agree with you, Omia. And to add on to this, if I give a personal example, when I stepped into supply chain, my first boss was a female, and I learned a lot from her. I would call out her name, Nosheen. She is now in Canada, but I learned from her a lot. She was an excellent. She was a planning manager and an excellent one at that. And all I know about operation planning and production planning, I got it from her. So thank you, Nosheen. So moving forward, Amina, your take on this as well, that regarding support system.
Absolutely, Noman. Um, like like we all know, so the support system, if you ask me, first of all, one has to support themselves. So if you want to be in a supply chain role, you have to support yourself by getting the right skill set. So when I say when I say that, I'm what I mean is that you have to be serious and you have to be dedicated and focused on developing yourself. So that's number one. Number two, your family, very important. They have, because supply chain roles, like we've all talked about it, is very challenging. For example, it's not a 9 to 5 job, it's not an 8 to 4 job, it's 24/7. So you don't get weekends off, practically no. There's no public holiday for you, there's no Eid or Christmas for you. So that's the type of role supply chain is, and that's what it demands of an individual, be it a man or a woman, regardless of the gender. So yes, so you need a very, very supportive family system. So if you're not married, then your parents, your immediate family. If you're married, obviously your husband and your in-laws. And I'll extend it, because at our age, when we have children who are in teenagers and above, so you actually have to develop, one has to focus again and develop that support system for yourselves. Then you come to the workplace, of course. You need to have colleagues who are there to fill in for you for something that does not immediately need attention. And if you have a more challenging task, then you can delegate it to another colleague. So at least the show keeps running. So that's very important. And obviously, being females in the field, uh, we need a different kind of support system as well. Like I mentioned before, that if there's a certain area where there's a taboo of a woman or a lady leading that role. So women in leadership roles generally in our part of the world is not very much accepted, because of the social system that we belong to, not because of anything else, but primarily because of that. The acceptability is not as much as I would say is for a male. Then obviously you keep extending that support system to your friends also. For example, I would say, and your neighbors, and whatnot. So for example, if there's no support at home at that time, and you need somebody to pick up your kid from the school, you need to have a friend who's ready to help you in that in that hour. Uh, if you're traveling, for example, who's going to take, because uh, you would not be able to do your job peacefully and with a complete focus unless you're 100% sure that your children, your family is well looked after. So please make sure that you create those support systems. And when you enter the office door, your time and your focus and your energy is dedicated to your work, so that kind of a role. And similarly, when you're well planned, when you're well supported, well organized within the workplace, similarly when you go back home, you will, in a supply chain role, you will always get calls, and you will be reached out, so to say, to take care or to address issues. But again, if you've planned it well, if you're organized well, then you can enjoy a very good family time as well. So both work and family, they go hand in hand. We're human beings, and this is very natural. So these are the little support groups that I would advise everybody to consciously develop, and make sure that they're dependable and that they work for you.
Thank you, Amna. Thank you. Farha, I would request your input on this as well.
So support system is for me really very important and has guided me through the years. I think on a personal or family level. So let's say for me, I know half of my friends or family don't know exactly what I do day in, day out, but they do support that I have a demanding job and always encourage and motivate. So this really kind of pushes me to do my best always. And also at work, so you have, I really recommend having a mentor or a coach that can guide you beyond the now, and so then you have a support system on the other side, and then can further develop your skill set, and then your soft skills in the workplace. Support system as work, I can completely relate to this because the past year or so, I had relied a lot on the support system of my team as I went through some personal issues. So having a great team and the support and working together as a team really, let's say, gives you the peace of mind, and it gives you the sense of, yes, I have accomplished, at least I have a good and excellent team dynamic, where then it supports you really to do the best and just excel to the next level. So if you're fortunate to have that, then definitely. And then, as Amna said, support yourself. So don't rely on the support of others to push you. If you have it, very good and great. But if you don't, support yourselves, find ways to motivate yourself and to push yourself to taking it to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah. I agree with you. And I would like to mention one thing for our audience and also the panelists. Farah is also a very accomplished mountaineer as well. I think you have, I think so far done 5 peaks, right?
I've done many, let's say, hikes and peaks. I think mostly what people look to is the summits that I've done as part of the 7 summits. So technically, I've done 2 of those. And then also then Mont Blanc, because not everyone considers the one in Russia as being the top summit for Europe. So Mont Blanc as well, but many hiking trips in Nepal and in the region and so forth. So thanks, Noman, for mentioning this.
No. For me, Farah, believe me or not, I do know what you mentioned about your the personal challenges and what you have gone through. And believe me, I've always looked up to you as a role model as well, that if any challenge comes up, see what Farah is doing about her challenges and how she is always have a big smile on her face and taking those challenges head on. So thank you, Farah, for that.
Thanks.
Coming to Shaheera. Shaheera, your input as well on the support system, please.
I believe Farah, Amina, and CIGDEM already mentioned the basis of the support system, which must be required for any person, either male or female, in having a support system in workplace. For me, the first support system was family, my husband and my mother. because I used to travel a lot during my time in Siemens. My kids were small, and I need someone to take care of them during this time. So there was a shift between my husband and my mother, which was going well, and I really appreciate their support during this time. And from workplace itself, it's important to have the support from your colleagues and from management itself. I had a very good support from management in Schenker, in Siemens. Basil did a very good job with me in supporting me during several roles. He was guiding me, mentoring me, coaching me whenever I need. And there are some jobs which I worked for, I lacked this support, which I didn't continue for long. I tried my best to support myself during this time, but it was not enough, because there must be a support from colleagues and manager during this time, and it was not there. So I could not continue. But I was really lucky to have a good support in Siemens, in Schenker, in Nagel. The last 3 jobs was really very good in support system in the workplace and from family as well. And supporting myself, it's actually one of my my roles since university. I should support myself, otherwise no one will support me. And I really encourage everyone who is entering a new job or entering a job industry, just graduated, you must create your support system in order to grow and in order to shine, because it's really difficult to depend on yourself only. Yeah, this is from my side.
Thank you, Shaheera. You did mention Basil. For the people, Shaheera and I are ex-colleagues from Siemens as well. So we have worked together. I was heading the project procurement and she was director logistics, and Basil was our boss over there. So if Basil is listening in, Basil has been a strong support for everyone from his team, and he developed our team, and we learned a lot from Basil. So thank you, Basil. Now, I think, Chidan, you wanted to add to this point as well. So please.
Yes, I mean, I wanted to add one thing because which was hard for me, asking for support. This is the key for women. I mean, when you are really needing help, you are starting to struggle, etc. But you are forgetting to say that, hey, I need help. So it is okay to raise your hand, and it's okay to say that I need help. So I know the family part, etc. This is one thing. Also from the colleagues, from your managers, etc. It is okay to need help during, especially very, very needed for some special periods. So don't afraid to ask for help. As I know from myself, women are generally looking for perfection. They are thinking that they need to be all the time enough for themselves. They need to be all the time ready for everything, etc. But this is not the case, you know. So don't try to be the strong one. Sometimes it's also okay to be the weak one, or sometimes it's okay to be asking for help, etc. Consider this. And also the next part is about the leaders. As the leaders, we also need to empathy about the all women employees and colleagues. For example, in terms of the flexible working, remote working, or work-life balance, we need to do our side in order to be the role model. For example, from my experience, we were working 7/24, and sometimes especially the new generation, let's say, was very, very, frustrated because of this. And also we need to understand that working with new generations, etc., is becoming the case. So we need to help them to have much more flexibility, to have the work-life balance. What we have done, for example, we have done this no late emails after the work hours. For example, after 7 o'clock, if you are writing an email, we are not sending during the night and we are sending just the next day morning. This kind of things. Or as much as possible, don't take your laptop with you during the off periods, etc. Trying to support people with these kind of things to make them relax, make them have some space and come back with fresh eyes, fresh minds, etc. So as leaders, we need to be thinking in this way, how much we can do, how much we can support this kind of initiatives. It would be a good change, I think, for us and for all the others, because this 724 is really being 724 is really nothing ideal in long term for anyone. So we need to build systems, we need to build teams according to this.
Thank you, Chidan. Thank you for the addition. Coming now to moving forward on this, that you all have been in your prospective roles or in the supply chain field for over many years. As I said, probably a collective 100 plus years of experience we all have together here. So during this time, you must have had a lot of success stories. So I would request all of you to share one story or one success story that that comes to your mind or that really made an impact for you. So Amina, if you can, I would request you to start off with your success story in supply chain.
So yes, Noman, if you ask me, I think when you evolve in your career and you're moving further and further, at every stage, I would say there's a new success story. So for me, particularly at this point, my success story would be that yes, I was in a formal workplace environment for about 10 11 years, and then I was out of the system for another 8 or 9 years in a formal workplace environment. But my success story is that I kept myself updated. I still kept my knowledge upgraded. I did small courses. I attended lots and lots of webinars, lots and lots of seminars, just to make sure that I'm still uh, up to date in terms of what's happening in the industry. And then look at me 9 years later. There's a set of a management team that trusts me and gives me a very senior leadership role in the company. So that gives me a lot of confidence and a lot of commitment to move on and take this portfolio forward.
Thanks, Amna. I agree with you. Empowerment is the key to success. That without the trust and empowerment from your seniors, from your leaders, organization leader, no one can excel, may it be male or female. So for all, the trust and empowerment counts a lot. So thank you. Chidan, if you may add on to this, share a success story from your side.
I was 27, 28 years old when I got all the responsibility for the total supply chain in Turkey. It means that it was the warehouse and warehousing, planning, and customer service, all the departments in the supply chain. And it was a really good push for me, because I saw their trust to give me all the responsibility in these early ages. And it was not because that I know everything perfect, but it was about my commitment, it was about my energy, it was about my discipline, etc. But after this role, it is asked from me to make Turkey a part of EMEA. So it means that the standardizations of the procedures, moving all the team to EMEA, etc. And while doing this, my actual team was with people don't speak English fluently. So I started to build teams in the department in order to let them collaborate with the EMEA team. It was really tough because you are trying to build a new team from zero, and then there are also the experienced ones that knows all the business. So this transition period, without losing the talents and also encouraging them about why we need this change, was the critical part to manage. And also when you connect all the countries, for example, Turkey does something according to their local needs, Poland does something differently according to local needs, etc. When you link to all countries into EMEA region, then started to work on the all flows of supply chain and try to make a blueprint of how to do the things, etc., in order to link all these countries together and standardize it. It was a two years challenge. But after this challenge, now Turkey is also a part of EMEA, and its planning is being done from Romania, for example, with the remotely, so that all the process, etc., is being done centralized. It was a great success, and all the team members that we made it happen are the global talents now. I am very proud of them, and they are working in different departments at the moment. One of them, for example, is he leading the warehousing, the other is in quality, other is innovation, etc. So it is while doing changes in your organization, also not losing the talents and making them marketable for the rest of the roles was my challenging period in last 2 years, and we did it.
Okay. Thank you, Chidan. Thank you. Farah, if you can also add on.
So just thinking of this question, so there's many different examples that I can share, but the one I wanted to share right now was a story that actually happened. One of the first situations I was involved in very early on in my career. So I remember it was, and I still remember it this day because it resonated so much with me. So it was I think a few less than a year into the job in Siemens Kuwait. And as similar to Chidan, I think I got the role to lead the procurement around like 26, 27, something like that. And we had one of the major projects in Kuwait at the time. And I remember the lead PM did not want to work with me. For whatever reason it was, he just did not want to work with me. And for me, I think it was really because of, let's say, my or his understanding that I'm inexperienced, there's no value to add, and considering that it's, let's say, a high profile project. So it reached a level where we had to ask for the intervention of the CFO and the CEO. And I still remember this instance where all of us are in the meeting room trying to kind of moderate, and it felt like therapy. Like his issues with me, my issues with him, with the CEO and the CFO. And it was so embarrassing, but it reached that level that he completely did not want to work with me. At the end, he did not have a choice. So I continued to work on the project and support them. And for me, I was like, I'm not going to take it personally. I'm just going to move on and show that I can add value. And it's not like, okay, I'm just there. And we have an impression also in the Middle East, like women or women from the country, so either Kuwaiti or in the GCC, they don't really perform, they don't really work. So I said, okay, with time, I will show that there is value to be added and hopefully gain his respect. And then, okay, we finished the project. He ended up leaving the organization. But then, I don't know, with time, something changed, and he's actually one of my biggest supporters so far. So he supported me tremendously also in my move, and until now we cross paths, and he's like, I would love to have you work again in one of my projects. It's like, it would be like a great honor. And for me, and I think the last time I met him was maybe 2 years back, where we crossed paths again. And it was kind of closure to that meeting that we had where the CEO and CFO had to moderate. And it was like a heart to heart in the corridor. And he's like, honestly, you're like the best that I worked with in SCM, and it would be really an honor to work with you. So for me, this was like a personal success, that I managed to change someone's mind that was so adamant about their view and their opinion. And actually, yeah, we have a good friendship now. So that would be a success story for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah. Thank you. Umang, your turn. Your success story we would like to hear now.
Look, it's a long career. So yes, there are lots of stories. The one I would like to share, and in the middle of the story, I would tell you why I'm sharing this particular one. So in this particular one, I was appointed the DC startup leader for PNG Gulf. And so just for everyone's perspective, PNG acquired Gillette in 2005. Okay, after that, the consolidation started. My role was to consolidate the PNG and Gillette distribution centers and transition. So both PNG and Gillette had their own 3PL partners. The idea was to transition them out from their 3PL partners and get a new 3PL partner where both of them can work together, and at the same time synchronizing the process, streamlining everything, etc., etc. Now, this was a huge project because both PNG and Gillette were working with their respective partners for 10 plus years. And at the same time, the new 3PL that we had selected was also new to the UAE and Gulf market, which means that they literally, the first week when I went to visit them, they literally had a piece of land with a construction plan and nothing else. So they had no training on PNG's ways of working. They didn't even have a distribution center built up. So the work was literally starting from scratch. And to add to that, this project was overdue by 4 years. So the deadline was very short. And this is all the technical aspect of the project. So why this project is so close to my heart is because of the aspects other than technical. Now, I have done some very big, implementations in PNG and in other companies, but this project was very close to my heart because a lot of emotions were involved, and comfort zones were consistently being challenged all throughout the course of the project. And the toughest part was that the leadership itself was only partially convinced that project on such a huge scale can be successfully implemented in such a short time. So, I mean, there were challenges coming from literally left, right, center, up and down. And to be able to handle that and to be able to align everyone to my vision, bring everyone on the same page, handling the emotional side, was, I think, a huge success story, because in the end, not only the project was delivered, in the end, I could see that there is a PNG team and there is a Gillette team, but in the end, there was no such thing. There was one team which was, working together to deliver, I mean, to do the distribution whatsoever. So that for me is big. And I think this is the reason after that I became a bigger fan of networking, relationship building, conflict resolution. When I keep saying these terms, is because I'm so convinced and I so much believe in this thing. It has helped me so much, these things, that there are certain things in supply chain, if you stick by them, having a proper plan in place, conflict resolution, relationship building, communication, that that whatever you do, you will have huge success. So thank you.
Thank you, Omang. Agree with you on the networking part. Believe me, networking is a huge plus when it comes to supply chain in all other aspects as well. But in supply chain, a strong network can help you find solutions that you probably were not even aware of, and this network can support. Especially now, like if I give an example of mine, during my now being as a consultant now, a lot of topics are there that not everybody can be a master of everything. So these are the connections, or these is the network from where you get the support from, you get the knowledge, and you get the inputs from, and you cannot just walk through your life or your career alone. You need to have a strong
True that.
network behind you to support you, to throttle you forward then. So definitely a strong network is a big success, personally as well as professionally as well. So thank you. Moving forward, Shaheera, over to you on your success story.
I was thinking about 2 to 3 different success story, but I decided to go with this one because at the end of it I felt uh, so powerful and confident. Actually, this happened during my time in Siemens. We used to have end of every year, the last quarter, we used to have a global bidding for logistics contracts, freight forwarding, and express service. And the common practice is that the global team send the ranking for the vendors, and we go with the first one or second one based on different factors. During this time, it was for the express service, and they decided that they should go with one supplier for all over the globe, all clusters. And the problem with this supplier in Saudi Arabia during this time that there was a shift between one agent to another agent, and their work was not stable. But unfortunately, the team in Germany did not understand this problem, and they were pushing hard to shift. So I decided to have another plan locally to call the current vendor which we have business with, and to renegotiate the contract to go lower than the global rates which they offered. And it was not a small amount or small percentage to go low with. It was 35% less. It was very difficult. The local team could not get approval, so I escalated to Middle East team. I involved the CEO of Middle East during this time. It took some time from me, almost 1 to 2 months, but eventually I managed to have the rates valid for 1 year with 35% less than the global rates which they have been offered. There was some coordination later on between me and the global team to implement this contract instead of the one which they decided to go with. They did not like it because they consider it that I'm overcoming them and having a local decision without going back to them. But I couldn't have any option during this time, because if I managed to follow what they instructed, I will put the whole business in risk, because really it was not stable during this shift. And eventually it was a success story which I kept telling everyone I meet in the team, in business units during my time in Siemens. And even after I left Siemens, it was one of the stories which I'm proud of for this achievement. And it gives a very good cost saving overall. And you know what is cost saving for Siemens?
Yes, CNI.
CNI.
CNI. It's a 3-letter word which we all hate. So what Shaheera was talking about, I can concur with that. I was there at that time, and when this topic came up with the global contract, and how Shaheera single-handedly was able to, win or fight the case for Siemens Saudi Arabia when it comes to the local service provider, and still continue with them at a much better rate. So I concur with you, Shaheera. I was there, and we all reap the benefits of your hard work in that. So thank you. Omneya, over to you for your success.
Well, I won't say it's a success story, but what I was able to do is that I shifted the career. For most people, this is hard. I started all over again in a different field at an age of 30 at that time, and I was able to, walk up the ladder from junior buyer until the end of the scale, as they say. This is something that I really find as good that I did this. I changed the career that I did not like. I went up to what I really liked and worked for it until I was able to achieve it. I think also the key output of this was I now have a great team that I can depend on. I also support them, and I learn from them as well. One of my team members decided not to pursue the supply chain, and he wanted to go out as a commercial, and he's now responsible for projects in energy. If you know him, Farah, it's Amr. He was supposed to be my successor, by the way, and I was depending a lot on him. And he decided to take another job. I gave him all the support. I did not stand in his decision. Unfortunately for me, because I was looking forward to have him as a successor. But it was fortunate for him. He pursued what he really liked. I have a lot of examples from my team that I really am proud of. They really make me proud.
Thank you, Omneya, for your input. Thank you. I think I also know. No, Amar is still in Siemens, or he left Siemens?
He is, and he joined energy, and he's now commercial manager responsible for one of the projects, the mega projects.
Okay. I think I met him in Dubai, who you are mentioning.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Moving forward. See, small world. We are all interconnected, one way or the other. So now we are coming to the last discussion topic of our webinar. And once we are done with this topic, we'll be taking in the questions that we have so far received, which are quite a few. So that would be an interesting part as well. A lot of questions have come in. So before we go to the questions, the last thing, which is the most important discussion aspect, that what is one advice that you leaders would give to aspiring ladies who are already in the profession, or young ladies or females who want to enter the supply chain domain? So one advice. So I would request Farah, if you can take this question first.
I would say to aim high, aim big. Don't think that a certain a certain goal is too high to achieve. I can say, speaking personally, I didn't expect to take the role for Kuwait less than a year in Siemens. Then after, I didn't expect to move into Qatar. Then after, I didn't expect to move into the region in less than 2 years in Qatar. And all taking positions from former men, by the way. So I would say always aim high. If you think you cannot achieve it, then that is the goal that you should go ahead with. If you think, yeah, I can reach there in 3 years, I would say aim bigger, aim higher.
Thank you, Farah. Thank you for your input. Definitely aim bigger, aim higher. And yes, I have seen your progress, your uphill progress within Siemens world as well, from Kuwait to Qatar and now to UAE. Chidan, your advice to aspiring supply chain enthusiasts and ladies?
Yeah, similarly, I would say take risks, be brave, and also think about your strengths and think about what value you can bring onto the table and just do it. And also there is one thing that I like so much. It is like consider the moon. You don't need to be full to shine all the time. So it is really great. You should always think about the moon.
Thank you, Chidan.
That's it.
Umang, from your side, your input and advice.
Okay, look, for me, it's very simple. I will first say it and then I will elaborate more on this. You should know your business, you should know your numbers, and you should know yourself. This have been in all throughout the supply chain. This is what I have done. Know your business does not just mean that numbers should be at your fingertips, because this is what the new trend is. People think if I have all the numbers on my fingertips, I know my business. That's not true. You need to really understand what goes on in the business. How does the market behaves? What are your consumer trends? What are your supplier contingency? Dig deep and understand the business. And always keep in mind that, look, this is not a profit making function. This is a cost saving function. For a cost saving function, unless and until you completely and deeply understand the business, you cannot help the business. So that's one. Know your business always. Second, you need to know your people. Know your supplier, have a good healthy working relationship with your supplier, with your customer, within your team. It is very important, with the multifunctional teams horizontally. And then you should also know vertically. You should have good relationship with the leadership, and it is very important to know what direction they are taking. So know your business, know your people, and then in the end, know yourself. Everybody brings a unique edge to the table when they join an organization, when they join the function. Know that strength of yours and never be shy to talk about it and discuss it with your manager or with your leadership, that this is what I bring to the table, so they can put you in the right roles which are required. I mean, for me, I love a challenge. I'm very fast paced. I always put it out there for them. I'm never scared to think I will put it and they will overload me. No. For some people, it might be something else. For some people, it might be relationship management. For some people, it might be just sitting and analyzing. So, analytics. Just know what your strengths are and never be shy to put it out there for them. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Umang. I would add a little bit to what you have said. Know your suppliers. I always advise one thing to people, irrespective to everyone who is in supply chain or as leaders or managers, that the second tier is very important, even when it comes to your customers and also your suppliers, that you need to understand the capability of the second tier as well. And not just on your suppliers, but also when it comes to your team, understand the second tier of your team as well. When I say second tier, is that if you have a team member, also understand, it might be possible that that team member might be going through a certain thing, or he might have a certain family situation. So as a leader, as a manager, you need to look at all topics of your team, of your work from a holistic perspective. So the second tier is a very crucial key in managing and in leading people. So that's my 2 cents to what you said. I thank you, Umang. I'll move on to Shaheera now on please advise. A lot of young girls, ladies, and aspirants in Saudi Arabia are looking forward to hearing from you, Shaheera.
Yes, and actually my advice is for the fresh graduates who are willing to join the supply chain industry, or for young people who are going from one career to another career, shifting career in supply chain. I faced several cases, even recently, with fresh graduates who are in supply chain industry for less than 1 year, and they are struggling to understand very simple information because of lack of training, lack of sharing information from the old team to the new team. So my advice is, don't wait for anyone to teach you. Don't wait for anyone to train you. If you are sitting in the same place and you find reluctant from old team, just drag a chair, sit next to the person, stay for 1, 2, 3 days, however it takes, get the information. And moreover, it's not only information from the colleagues. You can find a lot of information in Google, a lot of informative articles, YouTube. There are lots of trainings, lots of videos, which is really valuable for supply chain. Nu'man himself, he has a very good series for purchasing. It's really good to know about the industry, not from one source, from different sources. And for people, it's not only for females, by the way, it's male or female. People who are new in a company, don't wait for anyone to teach you or train you. You get whatever training by force. Sit with people, write notes, ask questions as much as possible. Don't say that this is a stupid question. There is no stupid question. Don't say that I asked the question yesterday and I forget the answer. Ask again, ask again, ask again. It's important to know all the information you need from whatever source. But please don't depend on one source or one colleague to give you this information, and eventually you will not have it. So proceed with whatever resources you have and get the information. And I'll be happy, by the way, I'll be happy to answer any question. I receive a lot of questions through LinkedIn about courses, about consultation. I'll be happy also to support whenever is needed. Yeah, this is my advice for people new in supply chain.
Thank you, Shaheera. First of all, a big thank you, and I'm really humble and indebted that you said that my YouTube series are good. I really appreciate that. And adding to what you said, that there is no shame or there is no one should not hinder himself from or herself from asking questions. I remember my first boss in Siemens Saudi, Uthman.
Yes,
When I joined, exactly. When I joined, he gave me one advice, and it has stuck to me very, close to my heart. And at that time, when he gave that advice, I was a little confused. What does he mean by that? He said that, Numan, whenever you come to me with a problem, always come with a solution as well. And I responded to him that if I have the solution, why would I come to you? What do you mean that then there's no problem? He said, you will understand. And with time, I understood what he meant by that. That, if you have a problem, try to work out a solution. It's not necessarily it needs to be right, but at least give in its due diligence, its due consideration. Try to work out a solution. It might be wrong, but at least you tried. And then take it to your manager or to your colleague. And this is how you can learn from problems and from issues that come your way. So again, people hearing this, that whenever you are faced with a problem, try to work out a solution on your own first, and then go for help. I'm not saying shy away from help. Help is very critical when you are trying to grow, but also give in your 2 cents as well to it. So thank you. Shaheera, before I move to Omneya, I just would like to give a small shout out to Safia Suman. She has been a very active on this webinar. She has been commenting and she has been praising all of you. So thank you, Safia, for your constant input and your interaction with all of us. So now moving onwards to Omneya. Omneya, your advice.
Well, my advice to females specifically, stay a little bit longer. When you try procurement, don't just leave after a couple of months. They really get scared from responsibility, from the stress of the work, because it really gets a little bit stressful at sometimes, but stay a little bit longer. Procurement is a function that is very dynamic. You get to negotiate with people, to communicate with people. You deal with a lot of challenges, and you overcome them, by the way. So stick a little bit longer. Have time to look at the others, and within your team and your colleagues, reach out for help when you need it. Also, it's very a dynamic job. It's the only job that exists throughout all the functions. So you get to communicate with others a lot. You deal with internal customers, you deal with suppliers, you deal with colleagues. You learn how to team up within with other functions as well. So give yourself a fair chance, and don't just exit. This is my only advice.
Thank you, Omnia. I appreciate that. Right now, unfortunately, Amina had to step out of the webinar for a call. So we would not be right now able to take her advice, but once she's back, we will take her input as well. Now, I thank all of you for the very good and productive and constructive discussion that we had around these points. And thank you for all the participants who joined in as well. But I'm not closing the webinar right now. There are a lot of questions that we have right now. So I would now be moving on to the questions. So our first question is from Aya Adam. She has previously worked with FedEx in Saudi Arabia, so she's from Saudi. This question, I'll put it out to Shaheera. The question is, I'll try to also bring it here as well, that how did you develop your skill set and knowledge to accommodate to the task or position to you? Should I repeat?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Actually, part of the answer is part of my advice, which I just give to newcomers to the industry. I was not waiting for someone to teach me. I was usually have a spot observation about what I need based on the task which I'm handling, and I ask whatever I need from colleagues, from management, even for sometimes for training. At the point of time, I felt that I need to have a training in KPI to know how to design a KPI and to have a KPI matrix to serve my reporting and my work during this time. So I asked for this training, and I got it. And moreover, I went through online to get all the information I need about KPI matrices and reports, and I designed several reports during this time. So it's your responsibility to know what exactly skills you need in a job, whatever is the job, either it's supply chain or any other industry. You will feel what exactly skills you need. Ask your management, your boss, about some trainings, and in parallel, don't wait for the trainings. Maybe there is a budget problem, you cannot get it. Work on getting the information. Online is a big ocean which you can get all the information from. Maybe you can get a training which is not expensive, which also serve the purpose of what you need. So skills is usually the person who is handling the job is the one who decides which skills he needs, and also getting the skills or developing the skills, it's the responsibility of the person himself or herself. Just work on it, coordinate with your boss or with your management, go online, search for courses. YouTube also is one of the good sources which you can get a lot of information about. I myself learn a lot of formulas for Excel through YouTube, which I'm using very frequently now without any issue. It was at the beginning, it was difficult formula to me. Now it's easy and I can do it from YouTube. So this is my answer for anyone who is asking how to gain skills which I need.
Thank you, Shaheera. I agree with you. There's a lot of material now available, either free or at a very low cost. A few examples that I can also add on is LinkedIn Academy is there, LinkedIn Learning Center, Coursera,
Yes.
Udemy, Al Khan Academy is there for small topics. So a lot of online material is there that you can. And the very objective, even for my channel, is also is to provide very basic concept knowledge to people who want to understand in supply chain, want to share my knowledge with them. Thank you, Shaheera. Now I would direct the next question. It is from Namar Hassan from she's a fresh graduate from University of Sharjah. So this question is for you, Umang. The question is, as someone who has massive interest in supply chain, can you advise me some companies here in Dubai where I can do my internships and gain all experience needed?
Okay. Trick question, because gaining experience and doing an internship in real world are two different things. Okay, when you are doing an internship, yes, you should I mean, on a serious note, when you're doing an internship, yes, you should try to seek as much knowledge as you can, but not necessarily all companies, if you're doing internship with them, will give access to to big projects or even smaller projects. You will be doing some very, very basic tasks. I have been very lucky in working with some companies who have great internship programs, and I admire those companies for that. So, yes, there are lots of companies in Dubai. Almost all multinationals are in Dubai. So, first of all, you need to see which industry you're interested to work in. Do you want to work in pharma, FMCG, retail, food and beverage, and all of those companies? You name it, all big multinationals are in Dubai and Sharjah. There are local companies, there are multinational companies. So, I mean, sky is your limit. First, you need to know that which industry you need to go to, which particular industry. Once you know which industry you need to go to, then there is a list of companies that you can apply. To name a few, what can I say? In local companies, there is Alan, there is Masafi, there is Oasis, which is food and beverage. There is Pepsi, there is Coke, which are multinationals. There are multinational companies like P&G, Nestle, Siemens, of course, Siemens, Coats. I cannot give you a huge list of companies because all the big companies are there in Dubai, and this is the advantage of living in this sector. How to gain knowledge, especially in an internship, is bigger challenge than being at work, when you're hired to do a job, because an intern cannot have access to all the information in the real world. So try your best when you're intern to learn and observe your manager and your and the team members, how they react, because observing from people, listening rather than talking, will help you learn a lot of things, because when you go and talk to people and you listen to their answers attentively, you end up gathering a lot of knowledge. This has been my way of working for a long time. When I'm new to a field, I listen. I am quiet, I listen, observe, then there comes a time you're able to speak. Do your research on the internet. Like she said, there's a lot of stuff available on the internet. So that's all. That's all.
Thank you. Sorry. We have Amina back. We will come to Amina for the advice, but since this question is about internship, we have one more question from Saudi, from Safia Saman. That question is, and I would like to tackle this question, that being an expert in Saudi, I'm trying to intern in supply chain in Eastern Province of KSA. Can you please suggest some roles and company? I would request help from Shaheera on this answer as well. Coming to the internship topics, what I do understand from if you have studied from Saudi Arabia, so your university would have a, industry outreach program or a career office who can support you in getting the internships here in the eastern province of KSA. Otherwise, you can also reach out to me over LinkedIn as well. I can try to connect you. No promises, but at least I can support you on that as well if someone is there right now giving internship. But please also bear in mind that nowadays, because of the COVID situation, a lot of companies are very reluctant when it comes to internships right now, because uh, I have been talking to a lot of people, and that is the current scenario. Even the hiring is a little bit on the freeze right now or delayed, and so are the internships as well. So, Shahira, if you also can add your input on this.
Yeah, there is one valid point which you raised. Due to COVID-19, there is a lot of restrictions now for having interns in the companies. And being an expat also is one issue which is not supporting in giving internship in Saudi in general, not in the Eastern Province. But in Eastern Province, I believe you can reach the companies directly that you are an intern and see if they can do some exceptions. And as an Eastern Province, most of the companies there are oil and gas, like Halberton, Baker Hughes, Schlumberger, a lot
Yeah.
of companies there. You can reach them separately, individually, try to see if there is a possibility, maybe not this year or maybe next semester because of COVID-19, but see the possibility. And you can reach me also in LinkedIn privately. We can talk about it and see how we can support you. But as Nu'man said, I cannot promise anything, but I will try my best.
Thank you, Shaira. Before we tackle the next questions, I would like Amina to tackle the last question of our discussion, which was an advice that you would like to give to aspiring female professionals in the supply chain industry.
Yes, Numan, thank you. There's lots of advice to give, but primarily the first thing is conviction. Believe in yourself and be ready for challenges. Do not shy away from challenges. Supply chain specifically is a very demanding role in itself, and its norms are not normal at all. So be prepared for be prepared for rocky road ahead, so to say. uh, do not undermine or do not underestimate yourself, no matter what the circumstances are. And I always look up to women like maybe Oprah Winfrey, JK Rowling. If you're from Pakistan and you know Musharraf Hai, who has led Unilever, a company, a giant such as Unilever, in the key position. And there's lots of other, like Indra Noy. Look at her, there's no limit. And when you're at that position, you're not just supply chain, you're finance, you're marketing, your operations, you're legal, you're everything, you're regulatory, you're everything for the company. So if a woman, a lady can be in that position, so can you, so can all of us. So don't limit yourself. The limit is only here in your mind. That's the only limit you have. So once you convince yourself, like we've discussed, build your support systems, build your skill sets, never stop learning. So keep on learning, keep on challenging yourself, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll have amazing success stories, much better than ours, so to say here. So that's the only suggestion that I would give you.
Uh, Thank you, Amina. Thank you. Uh, we are getting a lot of positive comments from everyone. So I thank you all who have joined in for the comments. So coming back to the questions, um, we have one question for Amina. I would put it to you, but let me locate the question as well. In the comments, I will. The question is from Arif Molidina from Pakistan. He is with Khan University Hospital. the question is, when recruiters ask for tons of experience, where would freshers see themselves, and what is the initial step to enter this career?
I cannot see the question, and your voice was a little
Let
bit
me, I'm locating
Can
the
you just put it
question.
up, please? All right, great.
Here you go.
All right. When market or recruiter asking for tons of experience, so where would freshers see themselves, and what is the initial step to enter in this career or job? Okay, so there's no harm in starting at a junior level, and surprisingly, all these ladies that I mentioned, they had odd jobs. They've been cashiers at grocery stores, for example, Oprah, and for look at even Indira Nooyi. She started her career at a very very humble spot. So don't be shy whenever you are you're challenged, and this is a challenge, yes, because you think that, okay, I'm a university graduate, I have this degree, and this is where I see myself. So that's again an image within your mind. So don't sometimes we blind ourselves uh, with our own self reflection, so please don't do that. If it's a good organization, if you think that this is an organization which retains its employees, it invests in an employee as a person, as an individual, and as a professional, no matter where they want you to start, just enter. You just have to enter that door. So please enter that door, and then look for yourself. Keep your eyes open. Ask people. Uh, Build your skill set. I would say that again and again. Never stop learning, and sooner or later you will find the right click if you are the right person, if you are transparent, you're honest. These are these are rare traits, trust me, these days, but these are very important traits. So if you're honest, you are passionate, and you're committed, there's no stopping you, because an organization needs to be run by professionals, so even if you're a ranker, if you have to be a ranker, don't worry about it. Just get into the right organization, just get into the right role, slowly and gradually. There's no shortcut to success. There's no shortcut in anything in anything great that you want to achieve in life. And rankers perform better, if you ask me, because I know operations. I've worked in operations, I've worked in QA, I've worked in supply chain. I keep myself connected to marketing. We work cross functionally, and I enjoy listening to challenges being faced by other people. So when you're in an organization, and you think holistically, then your role and your approach towards what you're doing automatically changes. You think your vision increases. The horizon that you're looking at is different now. So you look at things holistically, and therefore that makes you, with all those traits, right? Honesty and dedication and passion, and the right skill set, again, you would perform much better than maybe someone who's 4 to 5 years senior than you. So don't worry about it. No role is small. No job is meaningless. Anything and everything that you're being paid for, if you're in an organization, it is meaningful, and it will, whatever you do and learn, you will see. Mark my words. You will see that it has benefited you in one way or the other. Maybe 5 years, 10 years, even 15 years down the road. So that would be my honest suggestion.
Thank you, Amna. Our next question is from Mubashir Sumro from Pakistan. I would put this question across to Chidan. If you can, if you could summarize supply chain in a sentence, what it would be.
I think supply chain is the bridge in order to satisfy your customer, and in order to fill your financial deliverables. So it is the all value chain that makes the value to the customer. So it is a summary. But at the end of the day, we know that it is a process of how we said, the planning the supply and having the customer service levels on targets, delivering the right goods, right service on right time and right quantity. So it is the all value chain that you introduce to the customer at the end of the day in order to catch your business plan.
Thank
Is it?
you, Chidan. Yes, thank you. Very good. Rightly put. Next question is for Omnia. The question is from Mustafa Khadeh from Alstom, Egypt. Do you think that automated and digital supply chain will affect positively the diversity that women have in supply chain field?
Well, this is a two-part question. I see it. Automation is key for the supply chain because in our world, if you are not up to date, you vanish. There will be no existence for a company that do not go for a digital supply chain. But I don't see the link to women because, as we said, women can do a lot in the supply chain arena, actually even more than the male at sometimes because they have all the skills and traits to do that. Also, artificial intelligence is key. Supply chain uses a lot of automation in it at this point in time, and we invest a lot in supply chain in tools because they make your job easier and faster and help you to at the end make your customer happy and satisfy the business.
Okay.
I hope I answered your question as far as I understood it.
Okay, yes. Coming to our next question, that is from Tunisia, from Sana Bouajaja. She is a PhD in industrial engineering. The question is for Farah. What are the soft skills needed for such work for a woman to success in supply chain? She is referring to specific soft skills. So if you can, please.
I would say organization. This is number one. I think this is a great skill that has helped me, especially with the different elements that are involved in supply chain. Another aspect would be assertiveness. Due to many uncomfortable situations, I think you need to be assertive with either your internal customers or your suppliers. So you need to be assertive, decisive, would be another point, and always willing to learn. So not being comfortable in your own comfort zone because of the dynamic nature of the field. So always striving to learn, always striving to try something new and gaining more skills and developing those skills and not staying in the same place. So being dynamic in yourself would be a good start, I would say.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking for the next question actually. The next question basically is for Amina specifically from Serish Huma. Amina, I'll put you there. I will locate the question and I'll also display it. The question is, what are the scopes of women in supply chain, specifically in Pakistan? At what challenges do women face in the industry being a supply chain professional?
So Sarish, to answer your question, supply chain as a function is gaining a lot of popularity because earlier, like we said, in a developing market, things were pretty much done, so different roles were being looked after within one department. But now the complexity of doing business and the demand of the market is such that they have to break down the roles. And I see a lot of supply chain roles, for example, maybe not a supply chain role, but little segments of it. For example, logistics, warehousing, freight forwarding, all these things, they are available. So such jobs are available, and I think if you look up within the recruiting websites, you would come across such openings for yourself. Challenges, yes, again, because logistics, warehousing, you have to be dealing probably with the truck drivers. You have to, if you're managing a fleet, let's say, for example, so you're dealing with that kind of mindset, so it is difficult. Again, we come back to the same points that we've discussed at length earlier in this session. Support systems, be aware of yourself and be aware of the people you're working with. Maintain your boundaries, very important. The tone that you're using, the words that you're using, and the content. You have to be you have to be very specific with what you're telling these people, and then uh, uh, at the same time, you have to contain and maintain it within limited words. So that's very important. And yes, you will face challenges, but the good thing is that it's not like it used to be maybe 10, 15, or 20 years ago. Things have evolved. You will see a lot more women in workplace now. Maybe a lot more women in leading roles, aspiring, and this segment is increasing. So there's more acceptability, so to say, for you as of today, as it was for us maybe 20, 22 years ago. So you have so you have everything going on in the right direction for you. So, and I wish you very, very good luck.
Thank you, Amna. Our next question is from Arwa Jamal from Saudi Arabia. She works with Farooq Mamun Tamer. The question is, I will leave it for one of you to take this question. How many years did you take as a break to raise your children? And do you find it different to be back to work and find a new job? So, who would like to take this question on? Omang?
I don't have kids, so I can't answer.
I also didn't have a break, so just 4 months. It is the legal rights in Turkey.
Okay,
So only for 4 months, and that's it.
okay. So, Omang, would you
I
like
had a
to?
long
Yeah.
break.
Let me do
Oh,
this because I am just the perfect case people want to hear about when it comes to taking breaks. Look, I've had two kids, and in case of both my kids, I took the break. I was never embarrassed to ask for the break because for me, even though I love supply chain and I love the corporate world, my family and having, my kids take the priority, I never felt embarrassed even once saying that I want to make my kids my priority and that I would like to take a break. So, in both my kids, currently as we speak, I am not taking any supply chain projects as part of consultancy as well, because my son right now he just turned one, last month. So I'm on a break, and because of also COVID-19, I'll probably take another 6 months or so, before I can go back to work. In case of my first son, I also took 1.5 year. And I mean, that's a different story. In that 1.5 year, I was so restless that I ended up opening a restaurant. But I did take that break from the corporate world. So, first of all, and in case of my first son, if I see what was my corporate break as such, is what it was about 4 years, because in between I was running a restaurant. So first of all, never be shy of taking a break. The skills that you learn on your job, unless and until you only have a 1 or 2 year experience and then you take a break, if you have a 5+ experience in any function at all, and you would like to go for a 2 to 3 year break, eh, things are not going to get erased from your mind. So it's not like you're going to unlearn those skills, or it's not like you're going to unlearn the ways of working and going back. To be honest, the first time when I was going back, I it wasn't like I was not confident, but I felt that maybe it will take me a couple of weeks to settle down to the corporate culture. But trust me, I did not enjoy anything more than going back to the corporate world. I was comfortable. I enjoyed my work, and everything was as it is as I had left, even though I was working for a completely different organization. Okay, just that it's good to be aware of what is happening in the field at all times. Yeah, like people read newspapers. So if you are in from a certain field, it goes without saying, if you are in a senior position, people like to read up regarding that field. So yes, when I went back to work, I went back to a completely different field. Actually, was working in supply chain, PNG, and then I went to consultancy. So the field was different. I was more like a project manager consultant role. It was more like a advice coach sort of role, but it was all smooth. Never think that taking a break is gonna give you setback on your career. No, where you left, you can pick exactly from there, and within months of you joining, you will see that you will be able to stand up like you had never left. So this is part of uh, having a female diversified environment.
Yes.
So this is completely okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Umang. Thank you. Thank you for your take on the question. Next question is for Farah. And this question doesn't mean that something like this happened. Fine. The question is from Safia Saman. She is a senior student in logistics and supply chain. Have any of you faced financial losses in the company due to some unfortunate event? If yes, what actions did you take? With some examples. So, Farah, your take.
Okay, I can relate to this question. So earlier when I was in Doha, we actually had a very challenging project, which had a financial impact, an operational impact, and a very sensitive situation with the customer, as well as being a very prestigious project for the country. So, and we had a limited amount of time to really overcome all of these challenges due to changes in the structure of how the project would be executed. So, and Asad actually worked with me on this project. So and it was completely new. There was no model or let's say any similar situation that the company had been through similar to this. So we kind of needed to adapt and figure it out for ourselves. And I can tell you it was one of the best learning experiences I had in Siemens and in general. It was very high pace, so we had less than a year, and the scope was extreme, I would have to say. But we went really unconventional. So because it was just an unconventional situation, we really went unconventional. We did everything. Late nights, early mornings, anything you can imagine, really anything, to a point that if in terms of escalations on certain suppliers, I would reach out to LinkedIn and to see who can I find, like managing directors to contact and try to resolve the issue that we had with some suppliers. So really thinking outside of the box to get the job done, and thankfully we did, and we overcame a lot of the challenges. And sometimes you succeed, some suppliers we don't succeed and it doesn't work out, but I think if you try and you try again, and you don't stop at the first failure, yeah, that it's good enough, I would say.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. Thank you, Farah. Next question is for Omneya. The question is from Zafar Islam, CFO from Tika, Saudi Arabia. Please share examples of dealing with ethics and compliance issues faced by your supply chains.
Well, that's a very good question. In Siemens, we have our own code of ethics or code of conduct. In this code of conduct, we have clauses that helps us identify what are the pain issues and make sure that none of our suppliers or business partners fall into that, and they comply with all the regulations and the laws, of course, and the ethical way of dealing with not to employ children, deal with women fairly as men, and so on. This we have done in the integration part. So if I'm engaging a supplier, we go through the code of ethics with the supplier, and we make him understand or explain the points or the clauses of it. And as soon as he does that, he's on board. And this is the main entry of any supplier to be enrolled as a Siemens supplier. Yeah. This is one thing. The other thing is, there's only one more thing.
Please.
Some of the suppliers have questions on the code of ethics, and we have compliance on board with us in the integration if there is questions related to ethics or topics like that, and this is how we handle it.
Thank you. Agree with you. Yes, code of ethics and compliance are very strong feature. It has to be a very strong feature of supply chain because there are a lot of opportunities or possibilities that people can go wayward, or even suppliers try to cajole you into an unethical activity or a relationship. So supply chain without a strong code of conduct, principles, and compliant behavior, it cannot function successfully. The next question would be the last question that we will take for the session. Our webinar was originally planned for 2 hours, but now we are touching the 3-hour mark. So thank you, the ladies, for bearing with me for this long session. The last question is for Shaheera. Shaheera, this is an interesting question. It's from Pakistan, from Fauzia Fayaz. My question, do you all believe in making successors after you? This is a good question.
Yes, it is a good and interesting questions. Actually, I strongly believe in making successors after me. And it's not one successor. Actually, I am a fan of building leaders. I like to have a team of leaders to make sure that whenever there is any problem which I cannot attend, or there's any circumstance which I'm not available there will be more than one leader to take the lead and solve the issue and move forward. There are some managers and some people which doesn't like to build a leader, afraid to take his position. But I believe this is an old-fashioned school which is not applicable anymore. Having a successor is now one of the main HR topics in most of the international companies for senior positions. In Siemens, I used to have it, and Kuehn-Nagel, I used to have it also as well. For this new role, still I didn't complete 1 month, so still I need to discuss it with HR, but I am a big fan of having successor for any role I'm handling.
Thank you, Shaheera. And I think this can bring our webinar to a conclusion. I thank all 6 of you for joining me in this good, even though it's a long one, it's a 3-hour. I appreciate you all to join in this webinar and sharing your stories, sharing your advice, and answering to these excellent questions from our participants. So hopefully that the purpose of this webinar was to present, role models, leaders, female leaders in the supply chain domain and from this region specifically. So I hope that I've been able to do justice to that vision of mine. And thank you all. for joining, and we shall conclude now our session now. Thank you.
Thank
You all.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
Noman.
you so
Thank you,
much.
Noman.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Omar.
Thank you.
Good
Bye.
luck
Thank
for
you.
everyone.
Thank you. And thank you all to the participants who joined in
Yeah.
and for the wonderful questions that you put forward. Thank
Very
you.
challenging questions,
Yeah.
some of them. Thank
Yes.
you so much.
So this is the end to the webinar. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.